Hello, welcome to the AcQuum Consulting How-Tos and Power Moves for Infor SunSystem EPM series. My name is Kath Hyde and today's topic is Q&A user-defined outputs, a very useful function allowing you to add customized fields to your Q&A reports. We're going to start with an example of a detailed report on our chart of accounts. And if we look at the example on screen, we need to identify and group the accounts based on the second character of the account code, where 0 in the second character it identifies its corporate account, and a 1 in the second character indicates it's a local account. We'd like to classify each account into the relevant group on our report. Traditionally, we'd use a SunSystems account analysis dimension to group these, but in our example, we were not aware of this requirement before we created the chart of account, so we're looking at other options. There are two simple ways to do this from within Q&A. The first is using this segment extraction type, and the second is using user-defined outputs. We're going to look at the segment function first of all to achieve this, and what we've got is we've got our account code already appearing in our output of our report. So what we wanted, that's a full account code. What we want to do, if we want to show the segment, we can actually select the account code again. The default extraction type will be segment. We can right click, select that extraction type, and then our offset is the second character. We want to start at the second character for a length of 1. I can click OK and OK again. And you'll see that that's classified the accounts, but this code in itself is pretty meaningless to people looking at the report, as there's no detailed description. What we're going to do is we're going to add a user-defined output to do the equivalent of the segment initially. So I'm going to select my report again. And this time in my output window, I'm going to right click and select user-defined output. What you have to do is enter a unique name for this output. So I'm going to call it account group, and that will appear at the top of the column of the report. And then we'll see the screen split into 3 areas. Left-hand side are the fields we've got available to us. Right-hand side, we've got where we enter the formula and then a format of that formula. Our formula is going to be based on the account code. So we want to look at the account code, so I can actually select that by just double clicking in my selection list. Once we have that, as we would in Excel, we're going to use the mid function to get the second character. So we can type that straight in. So it's going to be mid, open the brackets. That's our field. We want to start at the second character for a length of 1. So it's the same as you would do it in Excel, and we're just going to actually just click Save and OK to run that report. So what we'll see is this, the output appears, but it's appearing as a number, and that's because we didn't change the format. So that's the default format is number. So I'm just going to quickly go back into my report and change the account group so it displays as a number. To edit an existing UDO, just double click, and this is what controls the output format. So we're going to go select that to be text. That was a simple function, UDA, but what we can do is expand on that to display text and grouping rather than the actual code. So what we're going to do is we want the description, local or corporate, to appear. We're going to add another UDO. So I'm going to create a UDO. This time we're going to call it account group description. And what I can do here is I'm going to combine in my description an if statement with that mid statement. So we have the mid statement, which is returning 0 or 1. What we need to do now is actually build an if statement. Says that if the result of that mid statement is 0, show corporate account, otherwise show local account. Now, all the functions that are available to you are displayed in the online Q&A online help. So if we have a look at that online help, you will see we've used the mid function. We've got if statements. So the structure of this statement can actually be seen by selecting the help desk here, and it shows you the structure of that statement. So you could copy it from here and then paste it in and replace it with the relevant fields and update it. I've actually got a statement I prepared earlier, so I'm actually going to copy that from my document into here. So what we're doing is saying if that mid statement result is 0, if the result of that is 0, then we're going to want to put the words corporate account, otherwise we're going to put the words local account. And this is going to be a text output. So I'm going to save that. Another useful thing about these UDOs is not only that you can create your own defined outputs, you can use these within the filter selection. So if we look at the account group here, I can actually add that as a filter, and my account group, and say we're going to this server here. Actually, what I'm going to do is select just those which are local accounts, so I can select my ranges. So I'm adding it to the filter, so then my result should only show those local accounts. But I still have, because I've added the filter, I still have the ability to that report with the different selections. That was looking at chart of accounts, string functions, if statements. An area where UDOs are commonly used is in aging reports, as they're useful to calculate the days overdue and reports where you need some level of calculation. So if we look at my example here, so in this example here, what we've done is we calculated the days overdue. Now, to calculate those, that will be on the date difference between the report selected date here and the due date. Then we have other UDOs which are doing logic based on the result of that days overdue. So if I select the report, we just have a brief look at it before we finish for this demonstration. So days overdue. So what we've got in here is logic, and it's using the same if statement that we used before, following the same structure. We just take it to the next level, because what we're doing is, first of all, we're testing first of all if the due date is empty. So this string is null or empty. So we're testing if the due date is empty. If it is empty, then we'll actually use the transaction date in a date difference. So what we're doing here, this is a date difference calculation, and it's going to look at the difference between the transaction date and the report date that we've got in cell C2, so you can reference the cell there. So this is going to calculate the difference between the transaction date and the report date. And if that's if the due date is empty. If the due date is not empty, then it's going to use the due date in that same type of formula. So that is combining using the date difference function. It's called days overdue. Our used to find output. I'm going to save that, and then what we can do is we can build the buckets for our aging. So let's look at the 31 to 60 days, and those are actually using that days overdue results. So not only can you use the fields available to you in the selection list, you can use UDOs within other UDOs. This is a straightforward one, which says if it's the days overdue is less than or equal to 31 days, yet greater than or equal to 31 days, or less than 60, then use the beta band, otherwise return 0. So I'll save that and click OK. The advantage of using the UDOs in this aging report, instead of filtered columns, are that it can actually give you a better slightly enhanced performance advantage, especially if you've got a large data set. You could achieve these items using these columns using filtered columns. However, it's actually simpler to define in the user-defined objects. That was a brief flavour of some of the things that you can actually do with the user-defined outputs. I'd like to thank you for listening today, and thank you for your time.